Next on the 5 o'clock report.
We have a unified Republican conference.
We're looking at the different options.
This is the team.
The American people really haven't heard from him. He is leading by staying in the background.
We drive every year. Driving is cheaper than flying.
Now, let's go to the newsroom.
Let's make a deal. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Mark Webster. It appears the ranks of millions of Americans headed to and fro for the Christmas holiday will include members of Congress who, after multiple rounds of the blame game, apparently have a passable plan in place now to avoid a partial government shutdown at midnight. House Speaker Mike Johnson.
We have a unified Republican conference. There is a unanimous agreement in the room that we need to move forward.
House Majority Leader Stephen Scalise.
We're looking at the different options to keep the government running, to provide disaster relief, and to help our farmers.
Still no final deal at last word. The main components up for debate beyond basic funding to keep the government running, disaster relief, aid to farmers, and what to do with the federal debt ceiling. More than one apparent deal has already fallen through amid some bipartisan rancor.
Not going to go vote for another debt ceiling increase without actual specifics on what the cuts will be.
It's just horrific that they have thrust us into this kind of chaos.
Even assuming a deal is done by midnight, former Central Budget Office Director Doug Holtz-Eakin says this latest budget snafu leaves him fearing the federal fiscal future.
This is the team, House, Senate, and White House, that claims it's going to pass a budget resolution, pass 2 reconciliation bills, and get it all done in 100 days. They can't get this done in real time. So I'm quite nervous about what this says about the effectiveness of governance come 2025.
A side question in the budget debate, why President Biden has seemingly been AWOL despite the looming crisis, a fact not lost on the White House press corps.
Why hasn't President Biden said anything in the public about this?
The American people really haven't heard from him.
Well, the answer, not from Biden himself, but from his spokespersons.
The strategy is he is leading by staying in the background.
The strategy is the Congress, Republicans in particular, need to do their jobs.
Biden has just over 30 days left in office. There's also a report out today in the Wall Street Journal accusing White House aides of trying to hide Biden's mental decline.
There was a vow of silence among liberals in the media for 4 years. They didn't say it after the debate either, when it was clear to everyone. It was only after the election, when it could no longer affect their ability to cling to power, that you start to get some of the real story.
Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton, who says Biden's diminished capabilities is still a national security concern.
Joe Biden is still president. We've got another month of Joe Biden. He may be forgotten, but he's not gone.
The Wall Street Journal says White House aides insulated President Biden from media scrutiny and shielded his diminished cognitive functions from the American public. Also breaking this afternoon, at least 2 people dead, 68 injured after a possible terror attack at a crowded Christmas market in eastern Germany, where a car plowed into a large crowd in Magdeburg. It's about 2 hours drive west of Berlin. Fox correspondent Alex Hogan.
Not only are we monitoring the situation of a car plowing into a crowd of people at a Christmas market, but that potentially there could have been explosives rigged within this vehicle.
Local media reports say the driver of the car has been arrested. A similar incident took place in Berlin in 2016 that claimed a dozen lives. Well, the other big story this day, millions of Americans on the move for a million reasons, big and small.
My family hasn't met the baby yet.
Her first Christmas. We drive every year. And honestly, driving is cheaper than flying for 3 of us.
Driving or flying, lots of folks getting out of Dodge.
The airlines are expecting a record of more than 54 million flyers between now and January 6th. American says its peak of the peak, if you will come on Sunday at about 1:20 Eastern Time, when they'll have 1,074 flights in the air simultaneously.
Midwest flights and ground traffic got off to a slow start with an Arctic blast of cold and snow arriving at a bad time. But if you weren't going anywhere except the backyard, it was fun. Or at least so says this guy whose Labrador Retriever had some fun frolicking.
Constantly running around in circles, absolutely loving it. It kind of brings you back to being a kid yourself, running out there and wanting to go sledding and whatnot is kind of where it brought it back to right away.
And the flakes are flying around our listing area as well.
Extra care traveling tonight. Falling temperatures and snow for much of the area will mean slick travel. No one gets buried out of this pattern, but the clipper that brought the snow so far and the lake enhancement that follows will mean small accumulations and some very cold air that'll be with us right through the weekend. That's meteorologist Kevin Williams. His updated forecast is just ahead. Federal charges against Luigi Mangione could trigger the death penalty. The federal complaint claims Mangione traveled from Georgia to New York City to stalk and kill United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Among many pieces of
evidence police say they found on him: a notebook detailing plans for the attack that took the life of Thompson.
It does make you wonder why he kept that notebook so close, and if he wants to be a martyr.
That's legal analyst Ricky Kleeman. The federal charges come on top of 11 state charges that Mangione is facing. A trio of U.S. diplomats in Syria trying to get some answers as Islamic revolutionaries consolidate their newfound power there.
One of their missions is to uncover any information about the fate of Austin Tice, as well as an American doctor, Majid Kamalmaz, who disappeared in 2017, as well as any U.S. citizens who have disappeared under the Assad regime.
CBS's Margaret Brennan.
Get ready for a fight.
Day 2 of the Teamsters union strike against Amazon just 5 days before Christmas. Amazon says it's not as big as it's being sold as, because only around 1% of its workforce are union members. A spokesperson says they're only seeing protests in a small number of cities, not actual strikes. And trying to eat healthier, maybe in the new year. One challenge is figuring out just what is and isn't healthy.
The FDA has toughened its rules for what can be considered healthy foods. The change removes foods such as sugary cereals, highly sweetened yogurts, white bread, and some granola bars from bearing a healthy label. Things like avocados, olive oil, salmon, and eggs can now use it.
At CBS's Steve Cathon. Still to come on the 5 o'clock report. The New York State Thruway becomes a runway. As temperatures head down, national fuel rates head up, and putting down their razors to take up a good cause.
I'm Kevin Williams, and here is your Family Life regional weather forecast. The call for tonight into tomorrow. Areas of lake enhanced and lake effect snow and flurries. Accumulations additionally an inch or two for most. Several inches, though, in localized areas southeast of Lake Ontario and southeast of the Finger Lakes. Low temps tonight near 20 and not getting out of the 20s tomorrow. On Sunday, bitterly cold with sunshine, still some local lake snows and flurries. High temperatures on Sunday, teens and lower 20s.
Thank you, Kevin. Now checking the stories making news where you live across New York and Pennsylvania. Fly and drive took on new meaning on the New York State Thruway near Albany late this morning when a twin-engine plane made an emergency landing just south of exit 23. The pilot of the Beech 95 set the plane down safely with no injury to himself, his 2 passengers, or anyone on the ground. The aircraft appeared to be intact when it was later loaded onto a flatbed trailer. The plane was headed to Bennington, Vermont. The pilot reported to the tower that his wings were icing up, and that causes the plane to lose its lift and forced him down out of the sky. We've also got an update on that small plane that crashed in Aurora, New York yesterday, taking the life of the pilot there. Apparently it landed on the property of Buffalo Bills offensive lineman Deion Dawkins, who had this to say.
The point about it is I just hope that, the guy, the pilot's family is okay. I hope that they're doing all right, because somebody lost their life today.
The NTSB on site today documenting the plane and wreckage before what's left gets moved to a secure facility for a more thorough investigation. Just as it gets brutally cold, hundreds of thousands of National Fuel customers across western New York will see the rates go up after a rate increase was approved, the first in almost a decade. National Fuel's VP Brian Welsh.
Listen, we think any increase is one that shouldn't be taken lightly. And yes, the cost of most things are going up, but we've managed to avoid those increases for a long time.
National Fuel says they can't continue to prevent disruptions without improving their 10,000-mile pipeline system and offering better wages for their 1,300 local employees. Bills will go up about $17 over the next year, starting with a $6 increase in January. Former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo suing an aide who accused him of sexual harassment. Family Life's Sarah Harnish with that.
Calling the accusations false and defamatory, Cuomo filed a notice Thursday that he intends to sue former aide Charlotte Bennett. Bennett came forward in 2021 as the second woman to accuse Cuomo of sexual harassment, claiming he subjected her to invasive questions about her personal life and relationships. Andrew Cuomo resigned in 2021 after a report from the state attorney general found he'd harassed at least 11 women. Cuomo said he, quote, intends to fully clear his name and is rumored to be considering a run for mayor of New York City. Sarah Harnish, Family Life News.
Thank you, Sarah. Off to Pennsylvania now, and some new job data out. The state's unemployment rate, 3.5% in November, well below the national average of 4.2%. Education, health services, and hospitality reached record high job levels in November in the Keystone State. Right now, officials at a Christian school in PA just don't know if the school will reopen after Christmas. That story from our Jeremy Miller.
School leaders at the Emmanuel Christian School in Hazleton say they've run out of money and may have to close
for good. Director of Development Michael Skreenock says they're throwing a Hail Mary and trying to raise the money this holiday season, but he's not saying just how much the school needs. Skreenock says if they don't raise enough, teachers will be laid off and the kids will have to look for a new school come New Year's. Jeremy Miller, Family Life News.
Thank you much, Jeremy. And finally, a police department in Erie, PA, wrapping up a no-shave November. Their officers already look tough enough, but they look triple tough with the full face of unshaved beards, dozens of them, and they raised over $8,000 for 4 charities. Deputy Chief William Marucci.
It's great. A lot of these organizations, they've helped out the city dramatically, helped out us, and, overwhelmed that we can at least donate a little bit to them.
One of those organizations that received donations straight from the police department, a Christian group called Emmaus Ministries. All right, your nightly market report is up next, brought to you by Faithward Advisors. Wall Street is ending the week with stocks sharply higher. Now, this comes after the Dow Jones Industrial Average dropped by 1,100 points earlier in the week. Chicago Fed President Austin Goolsbee tells NBC he was encouraged by the latest inflation numbers and that rates could be cut next year, despite the Federal Reserve maintaining a cautious posture. At the closing bell, the Dow gained 498 points to 42,840. The S&P 500 rose 63 points to 5930, and the Nasdaq gained 199 to 19,572. Faithward Advisors, a Christian financial planning firm helping faithful stewards do more. Details are available at faithwardadvisors.com. This is the 5 o'clock report on Family Life.
Today, some quotes worth re-quoting. Hi, I'm Rob West with the Faith and Finance Minute. These are from the pen of financial writer Morgan Housel, author of The Psychology of Money. He writes, the most valuable personal finance asset is not needing to impress anyone. And how about this one? I've often wondered how many financial troubles are caused by spending that brings no joy to begin with. Not only is the person in trouble, he didn't even have fun getting there. And one more, average performance when sustained for an above average period leads to extraordinary performance. And he adds, this is true not only in investing, but in careers, relationships, and parenting. That reminds me of Proverbs 21:15. Steady plodding brings prosperity. That's a phrase certainly worth re-quoting. Discover the best Christian financial articles, podcasts, and videos by visiting our website, faithfi.com, or by downloading FaithFi, Faith and Finance from your app store.
All right, thank you very much. Still to come on the 5 o'clock report, a dream come true for an area high school sports team, but it'll also be a play-by-play nightmare.
I'm Kevin Williams, and here is your Family Life regional weather forecast. Extra care traveling tonight. Falling temperatures and snow for much of the area will mean slick travel. No one gets buried out of this pattern, but the clipper that brought the snow so far and the lake enhancement that follows will mean small accumulations and some very cold air that'll be with us right through the weekend. So the call for tonight into tomorrow, areas of lake enhanced and lake effect snow and flurries. Accumulations additionally an inch or two for most. Several inches, though, in localized areas southeast of Lake Ontario and southeast of the Finger Lakes. Low temps tonight near 20 and not getting out of the 20s tomorrow. On Sunday, bitterly cold with sunshine, still some local lake snows and flurries. High temperatures on Sunday, teens and lower 20s.
All right, very good, Kevin. Thank you much. A planned debut tonight's going to have to wait after tonight's game was postponed, but soon 5 brothers from the same family will start a high school basketball game in Corning, New York. If you know anything about basketball, you know that's just about unprecedented. In fact, we don't think it's ever been done before in New York State. Dave Peters of Painted Post New York is the father of the 5 boys who are the starting lineup. Our Bob Price spoke with him about that.
Well, it's a big league game for us, and we actually lost at home to this team last year. So it's quite an honor that Coach Button will put those 5 boys out there for a little bit. And, I think they've been working so hard. They've only played basketball. 2 of them have only played basketball 3 years, and the others have only played 2.
So tell me the names of the boys, and if you would, start from the oldest to the youngest.
Yeah, the oldest, our senior, is Tyrus. Next is Teddy, Denton, then Gehrig, and then Mickey.
Wow. And all 5 of them are going to start. I remember when I played, I had 2 other brothers that played with me at the same time. I missed my younger brother, Sam, playing with me by 1 year. I had graduated by then, so that would have been 4. But I don't remember ever in New York State there being all 5 starters from the same family. Has this ever happened before, Dave?
We don't think it's ever happened before, and Coach Button says he's never seen it in 64 years of being around basketball.
Unreal. Talk about how they work together, how being out there together make them better ball players.
Well, they do. They spend a lot of time on our back court. I actually ripped down the barn and put up a hoop on the concrete slab. And they go out there constantly. They go at each other. They play hard. And, yeah, you're right. They learn from each other, and they know what the expectations are of the other brothers.
Yeah. How many other children do you have, Dave?
Just the 5 boys.
That's incredible. And they're going to be starting tonight against this team from Oswego, all 5 starters from the same family. And I can't imagine how proud you must be as a dad to witness all 5 of your boys out there starting in the same game.
It really is an honor, and it really goes to my oldest son, Tyrus. We never had worked with him in basketball, and he started loving it, but was very, very bad at it. And he worked relentlessly. And that kind of drew the other brothers into it, and they all just kept getting better and better.
That's Dave Peters of Corning, New York. All 5 of his sons will soon start a high school basketball game at the Corning Christian Academy in Corning, New York. It was supposed to be tonight, but that got postponed, but it will eventually happen. I just pity the play-by-play guy trying to sort that lineup out. That's the world we live in for Friday, December 20th, 2024. Thank you again for joining us. Have a blessed weekend. I'm Mark Webster, Family Life News.